Welcome to those of you who are logging on. It's great to have you here with us today. We'll give people a couple minutes to get logged in and join the webinar before we get started. Welcome those of you who have just joined us. We're just giving people a chance to log on before we get started. Looks like a few people are still trickling in. Well, it's great to see so many people joining us today. Maybe give it another minute and then we'll get started and just let people join us as they're able. All right. Looks like we might have our group, so why don't we get started? And if others log on, they can certainly join us as they're able. So just a couple quick housekeeping things before we really launch into the webinar today. If you do have questions as we're going through the webinar, please use the Q&A feature to submit your question, and we'll be monitoring that. And then we've left plenty of time at the end of the webinar presentation so that we can engage in some conversation together. And just know that you'll receive an email from us with the recording within about 24 hours of today's webinar. So we will be sharing that with you as well. Right. We are so excited to have you here with us today. We've had the opportunity to work together for a few years here, and I've had the privilege certainly of getting to collaborate with Meghan and her team and watching them in action, which has been quite impressive, I have to say. So I was thrilled when she agreed to join me today to share the Riley campaign story. And I'm going to let Meghan introduce herself first, and then I'll take it from there. And you'll be hearing from both of us today as we go through the webinar. Meghan?
Great. Thanks, Carol. My name is Meghan Freeman. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Marketing and Communications at Riley Children's Foundation here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And as Carol said, I have been very lucky to be able to work with her and my incredible team here at RCF in building and currently executing a multi-year emotionally resonant campaign. And I'm really excited to be able to share the work that we've done and the work that we're continuing to do with all of you today.
And I'm Carole Arwidson, Senior Director of Strategic Communications here at BWF. I'm based in Minneapolis in our headquarter office. I'm entering my 7th year here, and probably like many of you, I've spent my career in this space, in particular in marketing communications, branding, and market research, first in private higher ed consulting, and now here at BWF. I want to just give you a little bit of background for anyone who might not be familiar with BWF. And, you know, the work that we're doing here is all about helping our clients excel through change, build their fundraising capacity, and fulfill their missions. And we really see ourselves as serving organizations that solve some of the world's greatest challenges and making our communities better and stronger places for everyone. And it's certainly a privilege to do this work alongside our clients. Just a few kind of other tidbits about BWF. And as you can see, we've worked on many campaigns, including the Riley campaign. And my colleagues come with a variety of expertise in everything from campaign planning and strategic communications to annual giving, digital marketing, data science, technology, operations, and donor engagement. And this is work we certainly are all very passionate about here at BWF. The focus of our webinar today really highlights some of these very specific services that we provide on the strategic communication side of BWF, and in particular, the council that I've had the privilege of providing to Riley since December of 2022 has involved a lot of different things, and you're going to hear about the results of all that work today as we continue to share with you what our journey has been like up until this point. So what we're going to focus on today is we want to just briefly touch on the road to the public launch, how we got to that moment in time, then share some of the details about that specific launch, which was at Red for Our Kids, and then really spend a lot of time talking about firing up and keeping up that momentum once you've actually done the launch. All right, before we get started though, we'd love to know where all of you are in your campaign journey. And so we're going to have a poll pop up here, and please take a second to answer the question, and then we'll get to see the results here in a minute or two. All right, let's see the results. Okay, and kind of a nice spread there. It looks like many of you are in a variety of different stages. So hopefully in the time that we have together today, there'll be something for all of you as Megan and I share the story here. All right. So with that, you know, this is a quote that I think really sets the tone for the kind of mindset that guided all of the work that we did together. And certainly strategy has been at the core of everything that we've done. And you're going to hear a lot about that from Megan. So take it away.
Great. So first thing, I was thrilled to see so many of you are still in the early phases of your campaign, because the road to a successful campaign launch really starts with strategy, which is where a lot of you currently are. Making sure that you've defined those priorities, the goals, and your leadership structure. So once that foundation's in place, the communication strategy and tactical execution can follow along. Things that are fun for those of us in comms, like messaging and creative work and the launch planning, things like that. And I think one thing I can't pronounce enough is that every campaign is going to have challenges. Something crazy is going to happen. It's going to come in and it's going to maybe shake things up. For us, we lost. We had both our president of our hospital and our president of our foundation announce their departure during our process. And so that's the exact kind of change I'm talking about. It can shake your momentum. It can really kind of get people on their heels. However, because we had a strong strategy and alignment already in place, we were able to keep moving forward with confidence and with momentum. And that, I think, really illustrates why strategy needs to come first. It's going to give you a roadmap that you can withstand any of these curveballs and any of these challenges that come if you have that strategic roadmap in place and strong and aligned. So you didn't hear me say it. Success starts with strategy and alignment. Before we even start creating campaign messaging or visuals, you have to do that heavy lifting of strategy and alignment. And for us, that meant things like conducting a feasibility study. We formed our campaign cabinet, engaged early level leadership donors to really test those ideas. And we also had to ensure internal alignment. So for us, our hospital partners are critical to everything we do. The foundation teams here, our executive leadership across all partners, and making sure that we were all on the same page about what those priorities are. And like, that's not flashy. That's not the big logo reveal. That's not that, you know, more creative work, but it's what makes everything else possible. And without it, even the most beautiful creative is going to fall flat because you haven't done that foundational work first. We also have a dedicated campaign director, Katie, who was instrumental in kind of that foundation strategy and alignment and on the development side. And we were able to work hand in hand with BWF on that work as well. We had really great partners to help us with that foundational strategic work. In other words, that success doesn't start or come with design and logos. It starts with clarity, it starts with alignment, and it starts with by making sure that everybody in your boat is rowing in the same direction. So now what marketing needs to own in all of this? While we had Katie and our development team working on their side, marketing had areas that were clearly ours. And so we worked hand in hand with them to kind of build this, what we owned and what they owned. So we owned more than just the creative. We owned at its core, the strategic clarity, the messaging and tone of voice, naming, tagline, brand system, the cross-channel brand experience from web to email to print to events to PR and stewardship. And then internal communications and toolkit development. So toolkits for our leadership team, for our development officers, for our clinical partners. We, on the marketing side, also owned the general campaign infrastructure with templates, guides, and playbooks. And again, none of that was owned by marketing, but it wasn't developed in a marketing vacuum. By working with Carole and then also working with Katie and the campaign team, we were able to make sure everybody was working together and was working in tandem. And really one of the things we kept to core was that Riley's mission is powerful, but we had to work to package it for scalability without losing the heart. And for us, that's kids. So we couldn't lose that heart with any of this work. We had to keep it at that strategic clarity core, regardless of who was working on it and regardless of what team. But marketing really owned kind of maintaining that part of it. So Carole can speak more as to what was required from an asset perspective in that, but I just wanted to make sure that I communicated kind of what my team was tasked with, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. And certainly, absolutely, none of any of the work that we did could commence without having the strategy in place. And so, having certainly the preliminary case for support, a communications plan for the campaign, messaging framework, and then the campaign theme and branding, all instrumental to having a solid foundation from then to do all the rest of the work that needed to be done. And, that includes building out the communications portfolio and all the different elements and assets that were going to be needed to communicate about the campaign. And in terms of launch planning, we really began that effort about 9 months out. And if we can go back for a second to the campaign theme and branding, I think we also really thought very deliberately about how to engage members of the team in naming the campaign and then giving it a creative life. And this really helped, I think, with buy-in and support and got a lot of excitement around what the actual theme was. And we actually had a very planned rollout. So we're going to share with you the video that was used to roll out the theme for the campaign.
Every child deserves our best. They deserve pioneering research that improves pediatric care and support when they're struggling with their mental health. They deserve quality care close to home, to be treated by the best and brightest, and to have support for their entire families during tough times. Riley has been a beacon of hope for 100 years, working tirelessly to ensure that every child and family gets the care they deserve. And today, that work continues. The need is too great to slow down now. In fact, we are doubling down on our efforts throughout Indiana, because one thing rings true: every child deserves Riley.
think for all of us, it was such a wonderful opportunity when this was rolled out to have a moment in time to kind of refocus everyone's attention on the fact that we were in the campaign planning stage. Everyone's off doing all of their own work and maybe only came in and out of campaign planning at different moments. And this really helped kind of build a little bit of excitement once again around naming the campaign. And the campaign specifically is the most ambitious in Riley Children's history, aiming to raise $300 million in support of 5 fundraising priorities, which are responding to the youth mental health crisis, recruiting the best and the brightest, pioneering research advancement, expanding access to Riley expertise, and supporting the entire family. And here just gives you a glimpse at how then, once we named the campaign, we actually began to bring it to life creatively. And these are many of the foundational elements that we created from the get-go to begin building our portfolio.
Yeah, so 300 million is a big audacious goal that we are taking on. I think it was interesting to see that video again because it's been quite a while since we debuted, but it was this moment of we'd done all of this work to get to this point where we were able to take a reset and like think about, oh, this is really happening and this is what we get to rally behind. From a leadership phase. So that video was unveiled to our team at Riley Children's Foundation and our board and partners, kind of an internal launch before we got to our big public. So right here, what you're seeing is a quick look of where we've been and where we're headed. So the leadership phase, you know, that was feasibility studies, case building, and some early major gifts. With a couple of other things that we did, kind of laying that again foundational component and roadmap. This year, we had our public launch, the moment where we brought the campaign to the broader community, and that was in March. So we'd given our internal partners a heads up, and then we spent, you know, some time prepping for this campaign launch, and then looking ahead for currently where we are and into the next couple of years. The continuation phase is about momentum. It's engaging new audiences. It's keeping our current donors connected, developing appropriate and personalized stewardship plans for those current donors, and widening our impact across the state and beyond. So when we conclude, when we get to the end, when we, you know, ring the bell on 300 million plus, it's not just a finish line for us. It's really setting a platform for Riley's next big chapter. We celebrated 100 years last year, and this campaign overlapped that 100 years of Riley Children's Health. And so what this campaign is showing the community is that we are an organization that is building the next chapter for children's health, both in Indiana and across the country and across the world. So the launch was fun. The launch was a big Red for Our Kids is our gala. It's our annual gala we have. And this was a big party where we were able to have a great evening full of fun. And we shared our goal and we shared our logo and with the campaign publicly. And it was just a really big and bold statement and rallying cry for everyone who was there and outside. So that was on those big numbers and letters were flash. We had fireworks. It was a whole moment.
And here we'll give you a little glimpse of how the campaign was announced that evening.
We are at a critical inflection point in children's healthcare. Using research, diagnostics, and advanced treatments, Riley Children's Health is confronting some of the world's most complex health challenges and discovering new ways to prevent them before they even start.
Alexi was a case study that they discussed at a conference. It was cutting-edge information and research that saved his life because it was so rare, and if they had waited, his organs would have shut down.
Riley Children's proudly serves kids from all 92 counties across Indiana and continues to find innovative strategies to reach more families in need.
I don't even have the words to say to those doctors because the proof is in my child. The work that the physicians are doing, it doesn't go unnoticed. It's really making a difference.
Riley donation is more than just a donation. It's giving kids another chance and a fair chance of life again.
To continue this critical work, we're tackling our most ambitious fundraising campaign in Riley history to ensure every kid has access to world-class pediatric care.
There's a lot of situations where regular hospitals can't handle things, and the fetal center is able to handle those situations and give those babies a chance at life. And if it wasn't for the fetal center, Owen wouldn't be alive.
We strive to offer every child the best and brightest doctors, recruit the next generation of top pediatric physicians, and expand our support services to help Riley families through the toughest times.
I had to be hospitalized several times, but having those child life specialists in the child life zone and many of those programs that made my stay there a little more normal for our family, donations make that all possible.
This commitment also extends beyond physical health as we combat the relentless mental health crisis in Indiana, so no child has to face their struggles alone, because every child deserves Riley. Donate today at rileykids.org/everychild.
So good. So the campaign launch, we had that video in the room. It was a brand moment. It was a big event. We had media, we had content created, we had an internal rallying point for us, for our partners. It empowered everyone in the room and all of our partners to scale messaging and have alignment to, this is the campaign, this is the voice, this is the messaging that we're using. And suddenly you had hundreds of people part of something, and that momentum we were able to capitalize on. But it was also more than just what was happening inside the room. It was a light switch moment for our updated website. Right when we announced it and we pull, we have the 300 million go off, we pull a blanket off the logo. It's, this big moment in the room. But as soon as that happened, we had the rest of our marketing team behind the scenes flipping over our website to updated campaign branding. We had social media flipping, we had other assets going out, we had an email go out with our new template. The reality we're living in now is that this launch was big. It was a big, bold moment for a big, bold campaign. But now that moment in time was just that. It was a moment of time. Now we're looking ahead at this multi-year story arc. We're looking at key moments in the content cycle that we can continue to push this messaging. We're looking at how we can keep that momentum from that room going appropriately, understanding that we can't have a giant party every couple months to celebrate something, as much as I wish. I mean, as long as I don't have to plan it, as much as I wish we could, we can't. So we have to find new and creative ways to keep that momentum moving. So when we talk about, when we moved into this public phase, one of the first priorities was making sure we had the right assets to tell that story consistently across every channel and with every audience. And that meant updating our website, like we talked about, building out toolkits for our teams, board and cabinet, creating all of our social media assets, and designing things like stationery, updating our direct mail and gift receipts so that that every child moniker was across the board, and the messaging around it with those individual pillars that Carole mentioned earlier were integrated throughout. We also built a media strategy through paid ads and thought leadership pieces and social content. So we were making sure that people were encountering the campaign wherever they were encountering our Riley Children's Foundation out there. And one thing I do want to go back to that I think is important to mention, when we developed this logo with Carole and with all of our partners, one of the things we wanted to keep at the core was the brand of Riley, so that wagon. And that's why we intentionally designed the logo the way we did, with the color scheme the way that we did, because eventually this campaign will sunset and will conclude, and we will go back to Riley Children's Foundation branding, and we don't want that to feel like whiplash for our community and for our partners. But anyway, importantly, we weren't just focused on our donors with our public campaign assets. We wanted our internal audiences, our board cabinet and regional councils, to have materials that made them feel confident as our ambassadors. You kind of look at this slide and you're like, this is a great laundry list, but the point is rather simple. The launch wasn't just an event. It was a coordinated brand moment backed by this full set of assets to keep the momentum going. And all of these assets, they weren't just checking boxes. It wasn't just about checking the box to make sure we got our stationery done. It was making sure that every touch point told the same story. And that story is that every child deserves Riley. And red results. So red, held in March for our public launch. It really was an optimal time for us because we didn't have to compete with anything like the Indianapolis 500 or some of the other large scale events in Indy. We had more than 600 guests at our location downtown. Experience Riley was a big part of it. It's where we bring in our hospital partners and they get to actually show what those donations go to. We brought in a Da Vinci robot. We had art therapy there. We had all sorts of things that we're able to show our guests at the event that when they bought a ticket, when they donated, this is truly the people. And we had the kids there, we had our Riley champions. So that when you're raising your paddle, when you're donating to a silent auction, it's not just like blowing in the wind. It is truly to help this child. It is to help the Owens of the world who wouldn't be here without your philanthropic support. We ended up raising more than $550K that night, and then continued with some additional fundraising immediately following from one-on-one with our development team members. So again, and I know I keep going back to it, but the launch was a brand moment. It was more than a one-night event though. It was a brand defining moment. And it shifted how we measure success. I think that that's really important to note because prior to that, we had dollars raised, but now we are shifting measures to not only dollars raised, but new donors, digital engagement, and brand sentiment. We are partnering with our Riley Children's Health partners to kind of do they do an annual brand study, RCF, and our launch of our event, one of the broadcast commercials we use is going to be a part of that brand sentiment. So we'll be able to kind of check in with that. The energy in the room, the voices of our families and partners, it turned the actual launch into a true movement. And the moment set the stage for everything that comes next, firing up that momentum and increasing our visibility across all channels, all platforms, and throughout the community. So now we have to keep it up, and that's the fun part. So we have a post-launch communications plan that includes momentum marketing and updates to our case for support and our collateral. We have some new donor persona development that we're working on right now and donor stewardship plans and reinvigorating our donor touch points. We also get to introduce our new foundation president. So we announced a couple weeks ago that we do have a new president. She will be starting September 2nd. So we'll be able to use that as a little flashpoint for some of this momentum. We also have a community engagement plan that Katie and I are working on together, and then ongoing content development. So we get a little bit more into each of these in the following slides. But this is really when we're talking about keeping up the momentum. These are kind of our 4 key areas that we've been able to use and plan on and continuing to plan with to keep that momentum going. So the post-launch communications plan, the campaign doesn't end with the launch. That's really just the beginning in a lot of ways. So post-launch, our focus is on broadening awareness beyond our closest supporters. We are deepening engagement with new audiences, particularly outside the Indianapolis metropolitan region, and showing that Riley is truly a statewide partner. Every piece of communication we share now, from donor updates to media, builds on the momentum of the launch, and it keeps our campaign voice strong. And then we're also, again, using our new president as a way to continue the drumbeat. The community engagement plan. So one of the most exciting aspects is bringing the campaign out into the community. So we're showing up where Hoosiers gather. So whether that's at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, at concerts, at the state fair, they're places that let us connect with new audiences in ways that are both meaningful and hopefully memorable. A lot of this is new for us. We've never really done some of these community engagement plans. So we're able to make the campaign feel bigger than fundraising. It becomes a part of Indiana's culture and Indiana's identity. So by partnering with some of these larger state fair type events, we are suddenly seeing Every Child Deserves Riley and the Riley brand become part of the larger Hoosier Indiana culture rather than separate. When the community sees Riley everywhere, which they do, we are one of the most recognizable brands in the state, I think second only to the Trident for IU. It reinforces that Every Child Deserves Riley is more than a campaign. It's truly a movement that anyone can join across the state. You can be a part of it. Your donations are a part of it. You're telling your Riley story, that's also a part of it. It's really allowing that engagement to be across all levels and across the entire Indiana community. And here's some examples. So this is so we actually, it's funny, the state fair photo, we did reconfigure that so the URL is only on one side, but this was a rendering, an older rendering, and it was the only one that I had quickly. But we were able to get that on the state fair pavilion so that all of the people who come to the state fair, which if you live in Indiana and you happen to drive by the state fairgrounds during state fair, you understand how many people do actually go to that. It is very big. The same with the Indy 500, we were able to partner with the Speedway. So we had that donate at RileyKids.org with our wagon and our campaign branding with the color scheme on the pylon there. And then we had commercials that ran throughout the Speedway as well for different events around the Indianapolis 500. And then we also have sponsored a concert series, and those bracelets glow in the dark, so they hand them out at the end of different concerts. So ongoing content development for donor outreach and continuing the drumbeat. So a lot of our momentum and the momentum that we're building off of that we've had, it really depends on fresh storytelling. So we're creating ongoing arcs of content that highlight milestones, donor impact, and new developments. This keeps our donors engaged over time, reminding them again and again that their support is making a difference right now, not just at the end of the campaign. So when we're looking at some of the movement and impact we've seen in community and child health in our research branch with our Riley affiliated research partners, we just shared a story about an in utero spina bifida surgery that was done at Riley Children's Health. And the fetal surgeon is a surgeon who was brought here because of Riley Children's Foundation funding. So she has been able to really promote. So we've been able to use that story and share that with our donors to make sure they understand how much their impact is seen today and is continuing to be seen. Because I think that that's the beauty of working in children's health. You know, you have saved or impacted or improved the care and the life of a child today, but who knows what that kid's going to end up doing. And we've been able to follow along a lot of these kids throughout their lives and, you know, do retrospectives and show where they're at because of our donors and because of the things our donors do. So by weaving in those stories with progress on updates that we were doing in the hospital in terms of recruit and retain and access and research and some of our stories around family support services like Camp Riley, we've been able to keep our message human and hopeful, but also still forward looking. So making sure our donors and that we're stewarding our donors in that way, and that we're, again, going back to kind of that earlier talking point of internal alignment. So my team and the donor engagement team, we share with our officer, with our gift officers, with our partners at the hospital, different things that they may not know about that we're working on. With our community partners, Katie shares with our cabinet, with our campaign cabinet, constantly the work that's being done and how their impact is being felt today. And it really, you know, I liken it to any sort of journey anybody's on. When you start to see the progress, you reinvigorate and you reinvest. And these campaigns are so long, sometimes they feel like they're never ending. But if you get these flashpoints and these moments of, hey, this is working, like what we're doing is making a difference and what we're doing is really having an impact, I think that helps invigorate the team, especially the team, because man, your teams are just grinding And if you can keep them and remind them of the mission and remind them that the work they're doing matters, that is so important. And then I think extending that impact to donors, to partners throughout, it can really help with keeping that momentum and keeping that drumbeat going in a way that's strong and important to seeing it through to the end. Speaking of progress, so here's where we stand today. We've got nearly 233 million raised by when I pulled these numbers, which was a couple weeks ago, toward our $300 million goal. That's an incredible milestone for us. We've had support from more than 212,000 donors since the start of the campaign. I think that shows how deeply the message of Every Child Deserves Riley resonates. We've had a couple things that I was digging for today. So we've had about 50 million in what we call transformational gifts. So over 5 million and over, and then 36 gifts of $1 million plus. So those numbers, like, they weren't just like good for us luck. It was a result of years of early strategic work, alignment with our hospital partners, strong campaign branding, and the momentum of a great public launch. And everything we've done so far, from case building to donor engagement, community events, they set us up not only to reach that goal, hopefully to surpass that goal, but to sustain the energy all the way to the end. And while the dollars are critical, what's just as exciting for me and for our team and Riley in general is the movement behind them, the growing community of people who have become a part of Riley's story or have had a chance to share Riley's story. I think that this progress is really proof that the foundation we built, we're positioned to finish strong. One thing that strikes me, like as I look at the data, is that behind every one of these numbers is a person who truly believes that every child deserves Riley and is willing to put time or treasure toward that. And that's momentum that we're going to be able to carry through the rest of the campaign. You know, these numbers are numbers, but there's so much. And I think in nonprofit, we can all kind of relate to that aspect of it where the numbers are great and we are here to raise money for our causes, but behind those numbers are, for us, kids and health and a healthier community and healthier kids throughout Indiana and the world. And also people who want that, who see that, who understand the importance of that, and who believe in our mission and our cause as much as we do, enough to give their hard-earned money toward it. Some lessons learned. So looking back, I think one of the biggest lessons we've learned was the importance of keeping the mission at its heart. So, you know, we're marketing a mission. We're not selling a product necessarily. We're not giving something away. I think we've learned that we've got a lot of people who believe in that mission. We just need to capitalize on it. But it's, again, you're marketing a mission, not just the product. Again, the importance of keeping our decision-making small and focused. And I think setting that strategy before you start working on our communication tactics, because that way, no matter what happens, no matter what curveballs come, you are going to be ready. Collaborating internally to build on the campaign brand, internal and partnership alignment matters. So true. I think it's bigger than just our donor base. This campaign reached families and community members and people across the state who may never give, but still carry that message forward. And I think that's part of that internal partnership alignment. We also, I think, learned through that collaboration internally, building the brand, is that we have to be agile, given some of the things that we've been through. Even the best laid Gantt charts need revisiting as our priorities shifted. New opportunities and new curveballs came up, but because we had that alignment, we didn't have to have the same kind of heartburn that those could have caused later on. And start planning the launch well in advance. You know, we started so early, but I still would say start earlier than we did. You know, we were about a year-ish, year and a few months ahead. And I remember thinking, we have a year, like, why do we, trust me. Start planning early, start thinking about who you want in the room for the launch, what kind of launch you want to have. I think that creating that will build long-term success. And I think, you know, when you keep your vision big, you're going to have a campaign that outlasts that single launch moment and helps build a future that's going to be critical.
Yeah, and a few more lessons learned. I think we definitely felt that keeping the decision-making group small and focused on the work helped us keep moving forward, you know, deliberately, intentionally, and, you know, with some level of speed, and not getting mired in too many people having to weigh in. And I think this is possible when you engage in that strategy and alignment building up front, because then people have had a say, and now when it comes time to execute, you can just keep going forward. So this would definitely be something, you know, we would highly recommend. And Megan's alluded to this, that you are focusing on an audience far bigger than the people in your CRM. And so you want to think very deliberately, especially as you get to post-launch, how do you reach all these people that you are not regularly communicating with? And how do you get them to be aware of who you are and what your cause is and what your mission is, and get them excited about the work that you're doing? And Megan also mentioned this, we did this very often, on-site visits, and sometimes some of our check-in calls were about going back to our plans, back to the Gantt chart, and really seeing if we needed to update things, if we needed to pivot, because a new opportunity arose. And so we wanted to take advantage of something that was going to help us achieve communication goals. And so then, well, how did that affect our planning? And so don't just build the plan and then file it, but keep coming back to it and making sure that you're making progress and that you are taking advantage of new opportunities as they come along. And of course, we've been saying this really all along. The campaign by itself is not this discrete moment in time that has a beginning and an end and then nothing ever happens. It's really your platform for then the long term, and it's the springboard to the next campaign. And, you know, being strategic, executing tactically, helps make sure that you've built a real solid foundation from which to move ahead the next time you have this opportunity and time presented to you. All right. Well, this is our opportunity to hear from all of you and find out what questions or comments or maybe insights you have to share with us. Megan's going to take a look here at the Q&A.
Yep. Okay. So one of the questions that we can start off with from here is, how did you keep leaders and fundraisers on message? Carole, if you want to start on that one.
Yeah, I will start that. This was something Megan and I and her colleagues all partnered on. So developing the messaging framework proved very important for this to actually happen, because once we had the messaging framework in place and we built it out for the campaign in general and then for each of the priorities, that was something we could share with the leaders and the other fundraisers to make sure that not only did they have the foundational messaging, but they would understand that this is how we're building message literacy and message fluency. And we don't want people just off talking about the campaign in a way that's most comfortable for them, but instead in a way that is consistent so that we can build that integration and really, really cement everything that this campaign is about into the minds of people. And Megan, share a little bit about maybe some of the training that you did to help people.
Yep. So we have campaign updates with our internal team, development team, and operational team, just because we feel like it's important that everybody's a part of that. So we have campaign updates quarterly that we were running, where we shared successes, big wins, challenges that people were facing throughout, and then any new collateral or video work that my team was doing, we were able to share that. And I think that that really helped. The other thing that we've invested in lately has been new donor touch points. So on our donor engagement team, we have a team member who writes donor touch points, and she keeps that alignment with the core message of the campaign, and she shares those out. And then we also have a subset that we're using through our systems to pull, and we can automate a send to a certain segment of donors for that as well. So that helps. With our leadership on the hospital side, we work to update them as often as possible with new and updated information. A lot of the stats and the data we get from them, but they have said multiple times, like when we pull it together for them, they can really see the impact. So our impact reports and stuff like that, we do share back with hospital partners so that they understand and kind of can stay keyed in on that messaging as well. Okay, this is, well, we do have a quick one. So how much was raised before launch? It was about 215 million. We launched at about that point in March of this year. And then how big is the staff and team within the Riley campaign? Yeah, so we have 70 people at Riley Children's Foundation. There are 8 on the marketing and communications team. So my team consists of content creating, digital and like content creation, digital and creative. We also have, like I said, a dedicated campaign director, and then our donor engagement team has been very intimately involved. So we do have 70 people across the organization. And I think we've been able to kind of capitalize on that. Okay. How do you avoid burnout from the team and fundraisers? If I knew that, I would have many millions to donate to Riley. It is hard, but I think the easiest way for us is impact, because even today, after I have, and I'll say like my team and I in particular churned and burned getting into that launch and like flipping everything, getting it updated, we were like dying, and then we had this big launch, and then I think we all took this big deep breath and then went right back into it. And that is hard, and that is draining on our team. So there's a couple things that we've done. One is I very much encourage PTO. I very much encourage my team to take their time off and to unplug and kind of reset and spend time with their family and their loved ones and their friends and doing the things that they like outside of work, because that is really kind of the important way of being a responsible and very dedicated and team member is by doing that. And then I also think, even today, watching that video and seeing Owen Lauer's dad being brought to tears, that is how I find my why. That's what I need to do to pull through is those stories, those kids. I spend as much time as possible with our families and hearing directly from them their stories. It's just really makes the work a little bit more meaningful. And yeah, it does make the tedious admin tasks a little bit easier to swallow, because I'm like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I know. But I think that those are the two biggest ways that like we've been able to do it here. And I'm not saying we do it perfectly. I'm not saying that I haven't had nights where I haven't felt like, oh my God. And also having like a few dedicated team members, trusted team members that you can just like sit in a closed conference room and just like have that moment of frustration, and then you take a deep breath and you go back to it, because it is so important. And when you remind yourself that it's not selling a product, it's people and it's people's lives, and that does help keep me wanting to go, and then again taking that time off. I don't know, Carole, if you have anything to add from your side on burnout.
Well, one of the things I think that you all did so wisely was from the beginning, especially so early on when, our small group that was doing all the planning and strategizing, the rest of the team wasn't really involved with those things. So the leaders Megan and her fellow leaders really were very thoughtful about how do we create some moments in time along the journey to get some excitement for the team. So we did have a big reveal party for the logo. We didn't just one day say, oh, did you see that piece of stationery? We put the new logo on it. Instead, I was on site for meetings, and we created an opportunity to bring everybody together into the room, show the video, handed out decorated cookies with the logo on it, and really got people excited. They were applauding, at the end of the video. And so we kept doing things like that along the way to bring the team kind of back into the excitement that we really wanted them to feel, so that we could go into the launch amped up about all the possibilities that there were to accomplish with all of us coming together. So I do think thinking about, the experience for everyone, not just the donors, is really important.
So we have about 3 more questions. 2 are really quick that I can kind of knock out, and then we have one that'll take a little bit more. So how many members were on the campaign cabinet? 14, I think, were on the campaign cabinet, and then we had 4 advisors. And then absolutely, I'm happy to share any of the donor touch points. I can send my contact information, and I can share some of those, but really it's emails that we did that kind of talk about different specific things going on with like Camp Riley and stuff like that. One other question. So how did having outside counsel, outside campaign comms counsel help you be successful? So Carole, I will take this one.
Yeah, it would be embarrassing for me.
Wouldn't it? So having BWF, both, I think from my side, which was definitely working side by side with Carole on the comms side, is truly like, we know our donors, and or at least we think we do. We know our donors, we know our community, and it's great. And with that comes the shadow side, where we're like very kind of in it, and sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees. And I think that that's what Carole really, and the BWF team in general, really helped us do, was kind of think outside of ourselves, bringing in their expertise from other similar and like-minded organizations, things that they were able to share, and ideation that they were able to have with us, the brainstorming, the bringing together the focus group. And sometimes, and this is not a knock on my team or on RCF in general, but having somebody from outside of any Riley organization running some of these focus groups, I think added this level of sophistication and added a level of expertise that our teams really responded to. So she was able to kind of coordinate that for the logo and that part of it. And then the other side was the asset creation and what we really needed. She and BWF were able to advise us on what we actually needed and help us cultivate our own ideas of what we needed, but also offer new ones and exciting ones and things like that. I think that was really, really helpful for us and has made a big difference. The other thing is just having somebody to, we had weekly calls with Carole, and I think that helped to hold us accountable with the work that we were doing. She has a great and keen eye, so we were able to share things with her and have her look at them, not as somebody outside of Riley and outside of Indiana, to be able to say like, this is, what does this mean? Like, what are you trying to say here? Like, maybe you should add in a story here. Just those things that really help bring some of those pre-launch and post-launch things to life. I really enjoyed having that. That was really a great addition, and I think helped make our work stronger.
Oh, thanks, Megan. It is and continues to be a really good partnership. So looking forward to seeing where else we go as we move towards bringing this campaign over the finish line. So with that, I want to give you all one chance to just tell us a little bit if there is anything that you'd like to learn more about. This gives us an opportunity to reach back out to you if there are things that you're curious about that we've talked about during the course of this. So we'll keep this poll up for just a minute or so, and then we will wrap this up. All right, thank you. And want to give a little shout out to my colleague, Mark Marshall, who will be doing the next webinar on our schedule. If you're interested, go ahead and scan the QR code. There'll also be information coming out via all of our social channels and emails and such. But this is the next one coming up, and it's all about building a comprehensive corporate partnership strategy. So we'd love to have you attend that as well if you have interest in that topic. Megan and I are grateful to all of you who stayed to the end, and certainly to everyone who joined us early on. Megan's contact information is here. She offered to have you reach out to her if you want some specific examples. And of course, both of us happy to answer questions or have a conversation about your own campaign. So thank you all so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your interest and your great attention to this today, and hopefully you come away with some insights and ideas for how to really carry your own campaigns forward. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.